how we can start looking to time an opponent's step and then chain into our various like wrestle ups. However, understand that this is like this can be very hard to hit just because it requires like good timing. So just like you have to anticipate failure when doing these types of movements, because you can't think that if it doesn't work 100% of the time that, oh, this move is terrible. This is like quite a low risk move that you can kind of like use as a jab a lot. So from here, I'll use this quite a lot, and just to try time a step and even just get my opponent out of balance. There are going to be situations where I do manage to move his foot, but he's still on top. And so there are a couple ways that we can look to continue from positions where I've managed to time a step, but I actually haven't managed to put him down to a hip. From here, there are a couple good follow-ups. So since we already have this cross grip, we're going to use this to push at the hip. And so similar mechanism to a tripod sweep and a dummy sweep, we can start looking to either use a double koichi to knock him backwards. So this is a situation where we managed to pull, but he's not falling down. I can chain a double koichi, or instead, if I feel like my foot's still too tucked, right, from here, I can start timing ankle kicks, right? If I feel like I'm very close to him, I can also add my head to the inside of his knee. And so now when Jed looks to sprawl on this shot, it's going to be very difficult. From here, I can start coming up to my knees and putting him down. So this is just a continuation of when we've managed to time a step well, but they're still standing. So from here, I'm pulling, I'm here, but it's difficult. I can go double koichi and work from here, and same thing with the bottom leg flies, where once I put him to a hip, I want to make sure to control his feet. I'm prioritizing control of the bottom leg. So I'm knocked him down, okay, I see he's on his right hip, I'm controlling his right foot. And so now when he looks to heist above me, it's very difficult. And now from here, I'm making sure he doesn't control my bottom foot, right? So from here, if you were to control my left foot, now it's going to be hard for me to heist. A good strategy in situations like this is to start switching hips. So let me just briefly go over a situation where I'm starting to heist up and I'm controlling his bottom foot, but Jed's very good at heisting. He switches to the opposite hip, right? What can we do from situations like these where he switches hips and comes to a standing position? Obviously, if he does come up, I can start working from here, and this is a very similar situation we were talking about before off of our single leg. However, if I can prevent this, I would rather prevent this. So let's go back to a situation where he's still on his hip. If I can, once I see him starting to switch his hips, I'm passing his foot across, and I'm going to use inside pull on his knee to bring him back to this hip. So as Jed looks to turn onto the opposite hip, I'm pulling on his knee to make it very difficult. And now from here, if you've been here for a couple of my classes these last few days, we will have gone over this entry, but we're basically trapping his foot, and now we can start going into our passing sequences, where from here when Jed looks to regard or heist, it's very difficult, and now we can start working from here. So once again, we're in a situation, he's coming up and he switches hips, I'm bringing it across, and I'm going to the inside of his knee. From here, as he looks to continue to heist, I'm pulling at his knee, and now I'm coming into a good passing position. Does that make sense? So basically two things that we're going over here. In a situation where this fails, he steps, but I don't manage to break him down to a hip, I can come up into either a dummy sweep, where we go for double koichi, or if we feel like our foot's tucked, we can go in for an ankle kick, and then from here continue to heist. And in a situation where we have a very good opponent, we're going to bring our foot across and keep him on this hip. Any questions? Next we'll go over a situation where his elbow comes away from his body, but for the time being, let's do these two sequences, and we'll do this quickly, and then we'll go to the next one. 1, 2, 3.